What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Nerdz Enigma Podcast, powered by sportsnerds.com. And today, I got a special guest from WVU football, best-selling author, CEO of Nap Entertainment, and a member of the 1988 WVU Mountaineers team that made it to the national championship against Notre Dame. Number 33, running back Napoleon, Eugene Napoleon. What's going on, man?
What's happening? What's happening? How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, man. Listen, blessed and highly favored.
So, like I said, we'll run down through your career. We'll start at the beginning. But one of the first questions I wanted to ask you, outside of all the football talk that you're used to over the years, tell me where it ranks for you being a 3-time special education teacher of the year. Where does that rank on your list of all the accolades?
That's a really good question. It ranks pretty high. When I put my priorities together. Being able to give back and being an educator. This is my 27th year, actually. Teaching special ed kids ranks very high. The give back is what it's all about. I always live by the motto, inspire positive changes in the life of others. So, and life is all about perspective. So when you look at it from that standpoint, being an educator means a great deal to me. Always has.
So everybody knows that you started your career at Pitt, and there's always questions surrounding Pitt and WVU and the rivalry and things like that. But one question I wanted to ask you about Pitt, as far as transferring from there, did you feel betrayed by Pitt at any point, due to your surrounding, you having to endure the heartbreak and some of the personal issues that you did? And I think you stated that they kind of wanted you back on the field, sort of immediately after that. So did you kind of feel betrayed by them?
Absolutely. Well, let me say it this way. When you go into a situation at a major college level, like Pitt, like Pitt, West Virginia, any major college, any major program, you, especially coming right out of high school, you're not thinking about the business side of it. You're thinking about the love for the institution, the love for the program, the fans, all that other stuff, right? You're not thinking about the business side of it. No one sat you down to tell you how big major college sports really is, right? And that was my mindset coming straight out of high school, 1985. I'm a freshman, I'm a perennial All-American coming out of high school, highly recruited. I'm thinking Pitt's been my dream school since I was 7 years old. I'm not thinking about the business side. Now, unfortunately, when tragedy happens in your life personally, and then they don't respond to it the way that you think they're supposed to, now the business side kicks in. And I was just so confused from me just loving the school and the atmosphere and all of that. When the business side kicked in, man, let me tell you, that threw me for a loop. Absolutely, I felt betrayed, for sure.
So when you did go to WU, I want to talk to you about Don Nehlen. I know everybody knows Don Nehlen as the person and what kind of character he brings, and just the kind of overall human being that he is. Talk to me about his coaching style as far as the off season, the hard days during the off season. Tell me about his coaching style during all that.
Let me tell you something. I'll be remiss if I didn't set this up the proper way. First off, Coach Nehlen is a leader of men. Let me be clear about that. He's a leader of men. So his way of looking at football was he was teaching life lessons through football. So let me start there because that sets up for the rest of the answer. So when you are around a person like that, who is a leader of men, that means their staff and who they hire, they have the same philosophy, the same principles, the same character, the same moral code, all of that stuff, because that's the type of men that he hired as assistant coaches. So the work ethic and everything that he demanded out of you, each of those coaches demanded out of you because they were they had the same game plan, right? All of that, the hard work, the discipline, the things that he taught about self-respect, making sure you're in classroom on time, everything he taught you as a student athlete was to prepare you for your life after sports. After sports. I quickly understood that my first month on campus at WVU. Through his tutelage, through his leadership, through his way of thinking about, I'm going to win football games by having studious, uh, um, uh, disciplined, high character individuals, we're going to win tough games through that, because I know with their discipline, they're not going to make too many mistakes. They're not going to fold in crunch time. And we're going to work them hard in practice to make sure they know exactly what they need to do. But that's a format for him in life in general. I told him this many, many years ago after I was done at WVU. His leadership qualities, starting with the discipline and the work ethic and the character and the morals, those are principles that I use to this very day. And that was what was given to me as a child. That's how my mother raised me. But to find that in a coach is very rare. So I'll say that kudos to Dar Nehlen and that entire staff. To find that in a coach is very rare.
So I guess also for you, that was a refreshing change, and you have a soft spot for not only WVU but for the state itself. So is that where all that started? As far as, like I said, it was a refreshing change when you came to WVU. So is that what started your soft spot for everything surrounding it?
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. First off, when you Pitt and West Virginia, the backyard brawl, we all know historically that we just don't like each other. Two universities just don't like each other. Okay. Fan bases don't like each other. So coming to West Virginia and walking into the state with the great fan base and the people, the wholesome people of that state, they embraced me like I didn't go to Pitt. Honestly, they embraced me as if I came right out of high school to WVU. I will never forget that. And they did it in a time where I don't think anybody really knew or understood what myself and my family was going through personally. Losing my older sister, just a few months prior to that, dying of an aneurysm of the brain at 32 years of age, man. That was such a traumatic experience. I don't think the fans at that point, after the fact, after I started talking about it, within the years or so that I was at WVU, but initially, I don't think they knew. And they still embraced me, not just as a student athlete, but as a young man, as a person. And football, of course, they love their Mountaineers, but when you embrace somebody like that, that bond that you create with a fan base, even to this day, I'm 59 years old. It's 2025, and the fans treat me as if I played last year. And I'm ingratiated to the fan base, to the state, to the university for that. I really am.
So that 1988 season, we'll fast forward to that. It was a special season, but I've heard you say that it was pretty much par for the course. It was expected due to the offseason work that the team was putting in. So, kind of take me through that. Like you said, it was par for the course.
Absolutely. We had great, leadership. Our seniors and even the juniors that year, man, they were just great leaders. And we kind of understood coming off of the Sun Bowl year, what type of team we could potentially have. And the seniors got together, they rallied around all of us and was like, listen, let's not go home for the summer. Let's make sure we stay in Morgantown. Let's make sure we grind this thing out. We have a heck of a football team. And Coach Nehlen and that staff put together a blueprint of here's how we're going to do things. We're going to take it one game at a time. We're going to work hard during the offseason. Everybody's going to be on the same page as far as first team, second team, third team, whoever is in the game, where we have one job to do, and that's to unified. We're going to win games because we know we've put the work in to do so. And that's what it was. It didn't matter who was in the football game. We all cheered for each other because we were wearing the gold and blue. You know what I mean? So it didn't matter. We really had that team, that brotherhood, that bond. And that started in the offseason because we knew how good we could be if we didn't let any distractions tear us apart. And we did a good job. The staff did a good job of not allowing that to happen.
So obviously, everybody that was put in front of you that you guys beat. So just talk to me about when you did make it to the national championship. Talk to me about the nerves stepping out of the tunnel. Although you've done everything that you had to do to get to that point. Talk to me about nerves coming out of the tunnel for that game.
It was crazy. First off, this is for all the marbles. You're playing against a really good Notre Dame football team. We didn't take them lightly at all. Obviously, how good, it's a well-coached team. So we knew the task ahead of us. So I remember standing in the tunnel, almost hyperventilating, because the atmosphere was just, it was insane. You figure those are the type of games that you dream about. Those are the type of games that as a kid, you're in the backyard thinking that, dreaming that I'm going to be in this game one day. So to actually be there for your dream to become a reality was unbelievable. That was one. And then two, you're playing against the marquee blue blood of blue bloods. You're playing against Notre Dame. So that on top of just the reality of this is the national championship and you want to win this thing so badly for the state of West Virginia, for the university, for the entire fan base, for your family, that I'm not going to call it pressure because that's what you're there for. You're there to play at that type of, that level. I'm going to say it was so surreal that it was almost like you can pinch yourself and you didn't even feel the pinch. Everything was just quiet around you. Of course, you saw the fans. It's a packed stadium. For me, I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't see anything other than tunnel vision coming from, the tunnel to the field. It was unreal. Now, once you stepped on the field, then everything just exploded with the fans and the music and it was unbelievable, man. Something that I will never forget for the rest of my life. Unbelievable.
So I know you've talked about too that you think 9 out of 10 times WVU beats Notre Dame with the healthy Major Harris. I know the old saying goes back to next man up, but when you've got a talent like that, and like you said, like a Major Harris, he pretty much equates for 21 to 28 points by himself per game. So you'll take that to your grave 9 out of 10 times that you beat Notre Dame with a Major Harris, a healthy Major Harris, right?
Let me tell you something. If we play Notre Dame at Kroger's with a healthy Major Harris, yes, and we played them 10 times with a healthy Major Harris, dude, they had no answer. No one had any answer for Super Number 9. That's what I call him. This guy was I don't think people really understand how great of a player Major Harris really was. I don't think unless you're out there on the field with this guy, it's hard to put it into words how great this man was. Notre Dame would not, I'm telling you, had he been healthy, they would not have had an answer for him.
So talk to me about the current college athletics and NIL. What are some things that, you may tweak? Because obviously, it's kind of frowned upon when you have a guy go to 4 different schools in 4 years and things like that. Some people are okay with it, some are not. But do you think the NIL, do you think it needs tweaked? Do you think it needs capped? Do you think you can only be allowed 1 or 2 transfers? What would you do to change it?
I'm going to be honest with you. Listen, there's a few things real quick. NIL, right? If the NCAA would have done this, let's just say 10 years ago, let's go to the TV network model, okay, where all of this stuff, where all this money derives from, right? Each conference, these power conferences, these FBS big conferences, you're making X amount of dollars from the TV rights, the revenue from these games that are being televised. Okay. If you move off campus, any Division I program, and your GPA is over a certain, let's just say it's 265. Let's just say that for the sake of argument, right? That allows you to move off campus. Okay. If you move off campus and you're on a full scholarship, all the NCAA had to do, let's say 10 years ago, give each player or each university would have been able to give each player that's off campus housing, because now your GPA is tied into it. So it's an educational academic thing. $10,000 more on your scholarship check, because you got that by moving off campus anyway. They got to pay for your room and board. Okay. $10,000 more per student athlete that's living off campus with a GPA of a 2.65. That would have taken care of all of this. Honestly, this would have never happened had that been the case. Because here's what it is. Doesn't matter what state you live in, doesn't matter what university you play for. If they're giving you $2,500 a month stipend for your off-campus housing, and you get another 10 grand on top of that, you mean to tell me you can't live with 12.5 each month? Are you serious? Yes, you would have been able to. It would have never been a question. because most student athletes would have never even thought outside of that. You'd have paid your rent, you'd have paid your water bill, whatever the case may be. If you had a little car, you'd have paid that, your little car note, and you would have been straight. So it wouldn't have come to this. But I'm gonna tell you where this comes from. Because everybody is freaking greedy, and because hundreds of millions of dollars have been made off the back of these student athletes, now you understand the surplus of, like I said, hundreds of millions of freaking dollars. The student athletes start to feel entitled, and rightfully so. If I'm seeing a jersey in the store with my number on it, but I can't even afford to go and buy groceries, it's like that doesn't make any sense. So now with the NIL being in place, here's what I do think. Use the NFL model, which I think that's what they're going to,
right?
Where it's capped at a certain amount of money, and then you have to have a player personnel director in there. Most universities do now. Now you're starting to see the 10, the 15, maybe even 20 coaches on the staff. It's the NFL model. It's a professional model. You have your 10 position coaches, and then you have your assistant coaches behind them. That's the NFL model. That's fine with me because it has to be capped at certain points. What I would do, my little tweak on it would be, you cannot transfer more than 2 times. That's
right.
it.
I agree.
To make it fair, you can't transfer more than 2 times, and it has to be a certain time period that you do transfer. You don't get to leave the university high and dry. Here's the other catch. Most players or parents would say, well, coaches do it all the time, and that's true. Head coaches and assistant coaches, they leave all the time. I get it. But the NIL money, the ability to transfer twice should be enough. Honestly, should be enough. We don't always get it right the first time. But that whole every year, I'm seeing a kid wear a different uniform in a different state at a different university in his or her career. There's 4 different uniforms on. No, I'll be honest with you. Now that I disagree with.
Right, I do too. So talk to me about. I want to talk about a little about your time in the AFL and CFL and how your preparation differed, and it was, how big of an adjustment was that coming from college athletics to AFL and CFL?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, whenever you go and you're playing at professional level and you're leaving a collegiate level, there's a big difference. There's a huge difference. My thing was learning how, and I was always ahead of the game in terms of training. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party, even to this day. Never did in college, even to this day. So that part wasn't a problem for me. I was a freaking, I love training. I love training because I wasn't a big running back. You talk about my heaviest, I think I was 180, about 183, at WVU. When I got to the AFL, I think I was 190. That was the heaviest I played, 190. So the preparation from what's expected of you from a collegiate athlete to a professional athlete is so different. Because at the pro level, no matter what league it's in, they don't care what your situation is. If you make a professional roster, the only thing they care about is wins.
Right.
And how could you help us win football games? That is it. So all the personal quirks, all of this person don't like me, that you can flush that down the toilet. When you become a professional athlete and you are a commodity, putting butts in seats, that's all they care about. So the mental preparation for me and the physical preparation honestly was the same. It was just making sure that your body at that level, at those levels, was so fine-tuned that you took a little bit more time developing the things, your hamstrings. And, for a running back like myself, I was a slasher. So making sure my hamstrings and my glutes and my quads and all that stuff was okay. Training up top to put a little bit more beef in my upper body. Those things kind of was tweaked a little bit more. But the mental and physical preparation for me was pretty much the same.
So I want to talk to you about your son too. He played at WVU and he's doing some big things as far as the coaching ranks right now. But I want to talk to you when he was at WVU. I know I spent some time with him because I covered WVU and things like that. So I know at some point he wanted to play the other side of the ball, but Dana Holgorsen really, didn't want to hear any of that. So are there any animosity toward Dana, for you as a dad and wanting your son to go as far as he can, in the college ranks, or did everything play out how it should have?
I always say, listen, God makes no mistakes. So ultimately, I'm going to answer that with two ways. My flesh says Brandon should have played quarterback. He should have went to school to
Right.
play QB because that's what he was, All-American high school quarterback. He's a great athlete, so of course he can flip it and play on the other side of the ball. He should have went someplace that would have allowed him to play QB. When Dana first recruited him, the conversation was, well, basically, you pick and choose. If you want to play offense, we'll give you an opportunity. You want to play defense, we'll give you an opportunity. I personally think or thought Dana recruited Brandon to play corner. He should have just said that outright. So, again, the spiritual side of me says God makes no mistakes. So Brandon's journey wound up being exactly what it was supposed to be for his personal journey. If it was an opportunity for Brandon to play on the offensive side of the ball at QB back then, all I can say is, listen, not just saying it because it's my son. I've watched what he did in high school. Brandon played at St. Peter's Prep High School. So you don't play at that level of high school ball. If you're a starter, listen, yeah, you have to be damn good. That's a different level. So to be an All-American quarterback there, he was recruited as a QB at a lot of D1 schools as well as a corner, as well as an athlete. So he had his opportunities, his revers to pick and choose where he wanted to go, and he followed my footsteps to WVU. I just wish he would have had the opportunity to come into camp and show what he could do as a QB first before being switched to defense.
I got a couple more for you, then I'll get you out of here. Just tell me, do you miss the old Big East with, all the realignment and things like that? Do you miss that?
I do, man. There is no, listen, playing your traditional rivalries, there's nothing like that. I do miss the way it was aligned, either the Big East or currently, because there is no more Big East, the ACC.
Right.
That would be the closest, for me, the closest alignment to what the Big East was because of your natural ties of rivalries. Not that where we are right now in the Big 12, that's fine, but I'm thinking about the fan base. I'm thinking about the fans that's to fly across the country. But the Big East, the alignment, and or the ACC, for me, man, I would love to see WVU with more traditional ties in rivalry games. I think that would be big for the fan base.
And my final question, when I ask everybody to wrap up the interview at the end of it, what is something that you want people to know about you that they may not?
That's a good question. Everything that I do, anybody that you work on so many different things in your life and you put so much stuff out, and because of the internet, everything is no longer private, everything is public. I think being a best-selling author and a well-traveled motivational speaker are two things that I want people to really know, and the purpose as to why I do these things or those things. Well, my 9-year-old sister passed away many, many, many years ago. I was 4, and she saved my life, right, in a house fire. There were certain things that I aligned myself with even back then that I thought would come to fruition now, and I thank God that it did. And stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing things that you may never thought you would have the ability to do, being a best-selling author is one, and then, like I said, couple that with being a motivational speaker. Those are two things that I've always wanted to do when I was much younger. So to do that, both those things at a high level now, all these years later, and I've been doing it for some time, I would like people to really know that, and the purpose behind it was, I don't know what my sister, had she lived, would have been, but as courageous as she was for saving my life back then, set the stage in the course of where I am now in my life, to always give back, to always do the things that's important for people, and to always try to inspire positive changes in others' lives. So that's why I do what I do, and I think I want people to really know that part about me. I'm a driven spirit, but I'm driven because of those things.
Thank you so much. I know you're busy, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on.
Man, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on the platform, and good luck with it. Good luck with it. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.